Advanced canola trait technology is here. And it's soon to be the talk of the town. Optimum Glide delivers excellent yield potential and agronomic trait performance. Improved crop safety. Enhanced weed control. And a wider window of application. You're going to want to see this. Learn more at OptimumGlide.ca.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host here on this Thursday edition of the show. Thanks so much, everybody, for making RealAg Radio and Rural Radio 147 such a big part of your workday. Also, big shout out to everybody out there, of course, listening to the RealAg Radio podcast as well. So tell your friends, your family, your neighbors, anybody interested in agriculture, tell them. Well, you can talk to us too, but you can please tell them about RealAg Radio. Okay, well, it is Thursday, which means it's Farmer Rapid Fire, which is brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. For more than 90 years, Pioneer has developed and tested products to meet your local challenges. Listen here. The new Z Series soybeans, Optimum Glide canola, top-performing corn products, and industry-leading traits and technologies it maximizes your yield potential. Pioneer's on-the-ground teams can help you get the right products for your fields. Visit pioneer.com/Canada to learn more. That is pioneer.com/Canada. Speaking of Optimum Glide, also the sponsor of our Agritechnica coverage from last November. Yes, it's all. We're coming up on where Agritechnica was a year ago already. Incredible, insane time. Somebody said to me yesterday, is it just me, or has this year absolutely flown by? Just like raced by. And probably depending on, how things have gone with livestock or in the fields, you may have a bit of a different perspective on that. Maybe it has gone fast, maybe it hasn't. Adversity sometimes makes things drag out a little bit, depending on where you are and what's going on. But I feel like it's gone pretty fast this year, and it's hard to believe. Kids are going back to school right away here. In parts of the U.S., kids are already back at school. In Canada, we kind of look at that Labor Day coming up in about 2 weeks where kids go back to school. So fall is here. And also, when kids go back to school, you kind of lose some of your harvest crew during the day. There's no doubt about that. Okay, today is the Farmer Rapid Fire, like I mentioned, and Pioneer Seeds Canada is the exclusive sponsor of the Farmer Rapid Fire. And today we've got John Wiebe's Dykstra. He is in New Brunswick. We got Jay Lewis from Ontario. Corey Loessin is from Saskatchewan. Rob Brunel is from Manitoba. And we've got no Pioneer agronomists today. They're out in the fields. They're busy. It's a busy time of the year doing all that scouting, helping out growers, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have a Pioneer agronomist next week. We got just farmers here today on the program. If you have any feedback, I'd love to hear from you. You can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You can also find Real Agriculture across all the different social media platforms. You're also more than welcome to call the RealAg feedback line. How you do that is you call 855-776-6147. You dial that number, press the number 3, and leave me a message. Now, if you want to, I had somebody this week who sent me an email. They love the Farmer Rapid Fire. They said, hey, if you're ever looking for somebody from this area, please include me in the rotation. So if you are interested in the future in being on the Farmer Rapid Fire, Canada, or even in the U.S., you can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. Up at RealAgriculture.com, speaking of that great website, we've got a new poll up, and it has to do with the topic I think that's been top of mind all week, and that's this potential for a rail strike in Canada. Both railways could be grinding to a halt August 22nd. And as we heard yesterday on the show, some products already halted, which is very concerning for farmers. The question or the poll this week is, what should the government do about a rail strike? So the options are implement back-to-work legislation, 2, lock all parties at a location until they come to a deal. Sounds like the last time you had, no one's leaving this room until we have an agreement. We've also got seek binding arbitration. Designate grain movement as essential so it's less affected by strikes. Nothing, let them sort it out in their own terms. Or the final one is outlaw unions. Well, I don't know if that's going to happen, but one can only wish. So go to RealAgriculture.com, scroll down, and you'll be able to vote in our free poll. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of interaction and its ability for you to see what's on your mind and participate in the discussion. We'll probably discuss the results on Friday's show a little bit during the Real Ag Issues panel tomorrow. Okay, so we'll hopefully do that for sure. Okay, let's get ready. We've got a lot happening. We got combines rolling through the field. We got some people getting an idea where their yields are. We're gonna line up what we're seeing versus the expectations for those that have started, and we'll find out what people are forecasting for yield for those that are just about to begin with the harvest season. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're gonna start out in New Brunswick with John Wiebe Dykstra. He's a dairy farmer, and he's gonna join us right after this. You're listening to Real Ag Radio, Rural Radio 147, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
Join us for the Canadian Beef Industry Conference, August 19th to 22nd in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Spend time networking on the trade show floor, hear from keynote speakers, and take in breakout sessions designed to increase profit, manage your rangeland, and navigate trends. Get up close to advanced techniques and hands-on demos, and kicking it all off is Lamley's Bull event. Proud, sustainable, and innovative, we are beef. Registration is now open. Visit CanadianBeefIndustryConference.com for full details and to register.
Peter Johnson at WheatPete, RealAgriculture.com. I'm the host of The Word, and I love doing The Word. I love the questions. I love the challenges. I love having to apply agronomics to all over the globe and areas outside of my normal jurisdiction. Also, I love the feedback the most, where growers challenge me, tell me about their plot results, help me to learn. The Word, absolutely the best part of my day.
If you have a growing list of questions about getting more from your fields, know that Koch Agronomic Services has an answer for every acre. With a full spectrum of nutrient management, nutrient protection, and seed enhancement options, Koch Agronomic Services offers a deep portfolio of agronomically effective products. Each designed to enhance yield potential, all available to help solve your problems. Find the answer that's right for your acres. Start by visiting kochag.ca. That's KOCH ag.ca.
And we start off this week's Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada in New Brunswick. And we're talking to John Wiebe Dykstra. Hey, John, how's it going?
Lovely. How are you doing, Shaun?
Hey, man, I'm doing pretty good. Okay, what's happening there on the dairy farm today?
Just finished up some first cut heifer feed, which you wouldn't really think would be in first cut anymore, but had some harvest issues at the beginning of the season. So that caused some delays. So by the time the harvester got back, we were able to eat the second cut for milking cows, and the first cut for heifers kind of got left behind. So we just finished that yesterday.
So, hey, John, how are the crops? How are they looking?
I have to say, and please don't jinx it with a hurricane, but things look phenomenal. Our corn crop is excellent. We have 400 acres of corn in, and every bit of it looks great. It had a slow start. We had a little bit of no-till issues with some dryness at the beginning when the seed was going in the ground, but even those fields came back. They look great. So the grains are ready to go. We've got about 120 acres of barley in. That's all ready to come off anytime if we can get to it. So, no, it's been a great year. The grass is a little bit on the light side, but I'm not going to complain because there's a lot of it there.
And what's led to those crop that corn looking so good? What are some of the environmental factors?
We have had a phenomenal heat summer. There's so much heat. There's so much sun. It's just been phenomenal for here. Compared to last year, we ended up having about a 30 to 40% loss of corn just due to the sheer amount of rain that we had last year. So compared to last year, this year is just going right along just like clockwork.
You mentioned hurricanes. Is that something that we are in hurricane season? Is this kind of what you're sort of like? Some people think of hail, right? You're thinking about hurricanes.
Yes, absolutely. We have, it's not very often. I know in Nova Scotia, probably about 10, maybe even 15 years ago at this point, they had some cornfields leveled with hurricane winds. It just depends on the stage and where you're at and what time you get hit with the wind and what direction it comes in. It can be a problem. We haven't had it yet in terms of the corn crop. We've had a little bit of blown over in places, but nothing significant in terms of damage.
And how are things in the dairy barn?
Overall, very good. The cows are not as fan of the corn heat. They don't seem to like it as much, and in of itself that creates its own challenges. But in of itself, things are going fairly well. Milk production's down a bit again because of that heat, but again, the cows, in terms of calf prices, have been excellent. A lot of the cross calves are going for record prices here. So overall, pretty well every facet, things are going quite well.
So when you do have such a... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
On top of that, we have the grain prices that are slowly coming down, which is nice on our end.
Yeah, definitely provides some cost relief on the feed side of the equation, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had a listener that reminded me of that a couple of weeks ago. You know, a lot of times when we have a market analyst on, we'll talk about, you know, if the markets are looking a little bit more bearish. I'll talk about it as like a negative, but there is the livestock side of the industry that sees, okay, there's some little bit better margin there because some of those the corn prices are going down. But we don't want to go down too far, John, as a livestock farmer, do we?
Well, again, if it's free, then no one's going to plant it. Like at a certain point, it has to make sense for everybody, and that's where I'd like to be able to make a reasonable margin on all of it. Yeah, but it can't go to just one side.
Nice little equilibrium there for sure. Now, you mentioned the heat of the summer. What are some of the things that you do on the dairy to make those cows comfortable?
We got fans in the barn, and they help move some of the air around. I even set up a garden hose with a sprinkler, and I watch the cows go over to get a shower every so often. That's not normally something we'd have to do here in general. The last couple of summers, though, it seems like the heat is getting to the point where some kind of a misting, drenching system will become a requirement. I think you see that more in the U.S., the misters in the barns, California and whatnot, but that's not usually been a problem we've had here.
Yeah, like when you're in Las Vegas in the heat of summer, you'll see like misters all over the place on the strip. Why cows probably like those misters too?
Absolutely, cows are they're their own self-heating furnaces. They like it cool. Again, 10 degrees is probably where they'd be happy. So it's just they don't like the heat and they don't want to move. They don't want to eat, and it just creates challenges. But they can be mitigated.
They're pretty finicky, right? Like the environment really does impact that output. Like you're trying to make that cow as happy and as comfortable and as just chill as possible, right?
Absolutely. That's the best way to get them to do their thing. And yet cows are a bit of an oxymoron. They're extremely curious and hate change. So it's just part of their nature. But the more routine you can make things for them, the more production we're going to get out of them. It's just the reality of cows.
So like the routine component, like what do you mean by like what's an example of like what you do to maintain a routine with them?
Well, it's about timing in terms of keeping the same schedule for milking, same schedule for feeding. They prefer that consistency, and then like you even see going into to offsetting cows, even that will annoy them to a point that they're just unhappy that you're in the barn with them when you're not usually there that same time every day. Just those little things will throw them off a little bit.
Yeah, I can't remember, but do you have robots in the dairy?
No, between our 3 farms, we each have our own parlor system, 8 parlors.
Yeah. Okay. So, but even without the robots, you're still able to really you see some of those changes in output, right? Like if some of these factors are an issue.
The milk truck tells you every 2 days what you've done. The output's there. So if there's any major change, any temperature or issues with the feed, you'll see it in the milk tank very quickly, and you'll have to go find the problem. Yeah,
true enough. Yeah, pretty good summer.
It's been excellent. Again, the breakdown on the harvester was quite frustrating. It was 3 weeks. We thought it was originally a head gasket. The head went off to get polished and came back with a crack in it. So the whole head had to be replaced, and we had to wait for that. And that was 3 weeks in the middle of summer that we can't get back.
You able to get away at all and a little bit of some vacay time at all?
It's not looking likely this summer. Maybe a couple long weekends, but that's about it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of sort of the life of a dairyman, right?
It is one of the downsides that there's always something to do, and there's always a lot going on in the summer, so it makes it a little bit more difficult. But I also see that as somewhat of a failure on my part for trying to figure out how to get it done.
Sounds like this hosting a radio show. It's every day. It's always
exactly. It's always there, and that's why you need a good team to make sure that you can get all the things necessary done, so you can get away from time to time.
Amen to that. Well, hey, John, thanks so much for joining us here. All the best to you.
All the best to you. Thanks, Sean.
Hey, we'll be right back here in the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
FP Genetics relentlessly brings innovative new seed genetics to Canadian farms, ensuring growers, breeders, and farmers are supported and viable. Being a valued partner on your farm for decades, you can expect the continuous pursuit of the best genetics. Visit fpgenetics.ca to discover FP's hybrid fall rye varieties and their end uses, or contact your local FP seed dealer or territory manager to discuss your fall seed strategy specific to your region.
If you're involved in the agriculture industry, it's important to stay informed on all the latest issues affecting your business. At RealAgriculture.com, we offer fast, reliable news, information, and insights to help you keep on top of all of the latest in Canadian agriculture. Visit RealAgriculture.com and sign up for our free daily newsletter covering everything from news, agronomy, animal agriculture, and much more. Visit RealAgriculture.com/subscribe today.
RealAg Radio is Canada's only daily radio show focused on agriculture. Get expert advice on Agronomic Monday. Tuesdays and Wednesdays will cover a broad range of issues. Thursday we'll hear from farmers across the country on the Farmer Rapid Fire. And we'll wrap things up Fridays with the RealAg Issues panel with Kelvin Hepner and Lindsay Smith. Join us Monday through Friday at 4:30 Eastern. And don't forget about the replay at 7 in the morning on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. And we take the Farmer Rapid Fire to Holstein, Ontario, and we're talking to Jay Lewis. Jay, how are we doing today?
Good, sir. Yourself?
Hey, man, I'm doing pretty good. Okay, what's happening? What's happening on the farm this week?
Just doing some oat harvest today.
Yeah.
Today we already finished up all our wheat and our rye, and just getting into the spring planted stuff for us. We got some oats and a bunch of canola to go. Yep. Getting ready to.
Overall, how are the cereals doing?
For myself, my wheat crop was a good crop. Yeah, very nice. Rye was just a little bit above average for us, but it's good. We should be. We're pleased with our crop, anyways, so far.
Okay, so the canola, that's a spring variety then.
Yeah. I've tried to grow winter canola a few times, and it doesn't work very well for me. Not a good enough manager, I don't think.
Always being hard on yourself.
Well, I've had some bad luck with growing winter canola, so yeah. I just said we're not going to do that again and move on to the next. I guess.
Making decisions. Okay, how about the corn and how about the corn and beans?
I'd say that we're sitting in a very you never want to count your what's that? You don't want to count your eggs before they're hatched or chickens before they're hatched or whatever, but I think the crops look good, actually. Yes. I think us personally, I think we're in a nice position for the way our crop's sitting. The corn, I think, is clicking along pretty nice right now, and soybeans are maturing well, and the edibles look good from what I see. Potato crop is maturing very nicely. Yeah, I think things are coming along real well.
I wish the markets were coming along really well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but that's something that I don't have control over. I don't have control how over the good crops are, but we can just do our best to manage it and get them there and do a good job harvesting and hope for the best. But yeah.
But honestly, isn't that the kind of the attitude you got to have? Like, right? There's a lot of stuff out of our control, but you do your best with the things that are in your control, make the best decisions you possibly can at the time, given the information you had. And it's more times than not, you hope you come up on the positive side of the equation, right?
Well, yeah, you can't dwell on stuff you can't look after, and that's easy to be said too. That's really easy to be said. My wife, if she was sitting beside me, she'd be hitting me because she knows that I have a hard time doing that. But you do need to do that. You need to look after what you can look after and manage things to the best of your ability. And you can't look after Mother Nature, so that's just things we have to look after, I guess. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're in the same club. There's a few times where, I'm doing the radio show here or an interview and doing it at home at the kitchen table, and my wife's listening and she says, when we finish the interview, she says, you need to take some of your own advice.
Yeah, that's right. That's what Patty would be telling me. Yep, she'd be saying, yeah, that's exactly what she would be saying to me. So,
good.
Yeah, it's hard. I think this year has actually been the year is shaping up very well. Agronomically, is that the right way of saying it?
Yep, absolutely.
Agronomically,
yep.
Yeah, I'd say it's shaping up probably to be one of our better years. I mean, it's not in the bin. And it's got a bit to go, but agronomically, it's been pretty good so far. I mean, the first cut of hay crop was excellent. Our second crop is coming off nice. There's a lot of good things that are happening. If we could get the everything to rebound a little bit in price in the commodities, I don't think the commodities got to move very far for it to be positive. But they just got to move. They got to move a little bit here somewhere.
So what's the best and we still got a crop to finish off here, but at this point, as you look at things, what's the best agronomic decision that you made this year?
To keep my rotation balanced and not go away from a plan that we worked at putting together for a number of years. I mean, I thought we were going to go real heavy in soybeans and it would have worked fine, but it's keeping a good balanced planned attack together has been good. Implementing red clover into our rotation if that's what we're talking about, like implementing red clover back into our wheat rotation for the nitrogen credits on our corn has paid off. We're seeing a nice benefit to that this year, which is good.
Are you a specialist at getting that red clover to establish? Are you one of the guys that knows how to do this the right way?
I'm not sure.
Well, because all I ever hear about is it's so difficult.
I've had if I tell you this, and next year it'll be a complete flop. But we've been putting it on in the springtime with our spreader early, and with our first pass of N on our crops, like on our rye, and we don't do all our wheat. I do very little wheat. I do all my oats and all my rye with it, because I find that in my wheat I was not having really successful stands of red clover when I was done. But in those oats crops, and which makes them hard to harvest, but in the rye, we've been having very good success with it. It's been working quite nice, actually. So.
Yeah. Speaking of your wife, have you been able to get any time away from the farm at all through the growing season?
Not this season, no. Help seems to be at a premium, as it probably is everywhere. So, yeah.
Hard.
Seems to be very hard to get a lot of time away. There's the odd day here and there.
Yep.
But Penny takes the holidays for me.
You assign her your allotment?
That's what she says. Yeah, she says I'll take Jay's holidays, and she goes. So
it's an interesting corporate policy you have over there.
Yeah, well, it's okay. You got to do what works sometimes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Hey, this week we've been talking a lot about this potential rail strike that could happen in Canada, where both national railways come to a grinding halt here. I know for Central and Eastern Canada, grain movement is not as big of a deal as it is in the West with the rail. Still a factor, but not as big of one. But I think of propane. Do you have a dryer fed by propane?
All our dryers are fed by propane. Yeah.
Oh, so what do you think? What do you think about the possibility of this rail strike then?
Well, if I told you that I'm not keeping up on certain things in life, would you believe me?
Jay, I don't know. I'm not sure.
That's a true story. I'm not in touch with in touch with that subject, and that is the truth.
As of August 22nd, we could have CPKC and CN Rail both striking and grinding to a halt, no trains moving at the exact same time.
On August 22nd?
Yep.
Well, that might make a very very hard harvest if we don't have propane. Yeah, it could be. That would be very, very hard to deal with. Yes, I could see where that would be. I could see where there'd be for our part of the world that would be very difficult to handle. I would imagine most of the grain dryers in Ontario are probably run on propane. Yeah, a big percentage, anyways.
Yeah.
Yep.
Talk about a variable out of your control.
Yeah, that is. Yep. There always seems to be one or two that happen a year, right? Though, isn't that the way it goes? So, I mean, that'll probably take our propane and it'll add a premium to it, and we'll go back up to another higher cost. And yep. I mean, we just have to put high moisture corn up instead. I don't know. With livestock, just maybe they'd have to change our flow a little bit, I guess.
So, overall, 2024, if you guys got a very diversified operation, there's lots going on, but are you feeling pretty good about the year?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Agronomically and production wise, yeah. Like I think when it's all done, we're going to probably sit down and say, that's one of the best crops or best. Because I count my animals as crops too, so I think it's going to end up being one of our better crops. That we've put through the system, but it's not done. But I think it looks good. It looks good. I don't know. It's going to be close to what our budget was at the start of the year, but it's going to be a pretty tight margin when we're done. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of growers feeling that sums up how a lot of growers feel. I think we have these conversations every week, for sure. Yeah. I know you're combining today, so I'll let you get back to it, but all the machines running pretty good?
Everything's good. Yep. Everything's going along fine. Yep.
Well, that's taking a stress away of having to deal with machinery. When you got to deal with machinery issues on a good harvest day, that sucks.
That's why we try to have a real good harvest crew or maintenance crew going ahead of the combines, because a bunch of us don't have time to do that work, so our mechanics have to shoulder a lot of load, really, to keep everything going for us. So
you got some pretty pimped out service maintenance trucks over there at the farm?
No, that would be nice. Yeah, how about a 2010 rusted out Chevy?
Okay, well hey, it works too. It works too. Jay, really appreciate you joining us here today. All the best to you and good luck with harvest. Okay, bud?
Thank you, sir.
Hey, we'll be right back on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, right after this.
Advanced canola trait technology is here. And it's soon to be the talk of the town. Optimum Glide delivers excellent yield potential and agronomic trait performance. Improved crop safety. Enhanced weed control, and a wider window of application. You're going to want to see this. Learn more at OptimumGlide.ca.
I'm Lindsay Smith from RealAgriculture.com. Join me Monday nights for The Agronomist, a 1-hour live and interactive show broadcast across YouTube, Facebook, and X. Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, I host expert agronomists from all over the country to give you answers to some of the toughest agronomic questions. Join us live or catch the replay Tuesday morning. That's The Agronomist with me, Lindsay Smith, Monday nights live at 8 p.m. Eastern.
take the farmer rapid fire to St. Rose, Manitoba, and we're talking to Robert Brunel. Hey, Robert, how's it going?
I'm doing good, Shaun. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. What are you up to out in the field?
Well, we got some Timothy grass seed harvest happening and some pea desiccation happening today. So we're hoping to dodge a few showers to finish that up and move on to something else.
Is desiccation typically something you do every year?
On peas, it would be, yes. Most of our spring wheat we won't be, but on peas we typically desiccate them. Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to look just harvest management strategy, basically.
Mostly just a harvest management strategy. Yeah, exactly. Just make sure it's all even and we can go from end to end.
What's the expectation now at this point for your crop? How are you? We still got to get a combine into it, so we don't know. But what are your thoughts on what you have out there?
We have a pretty decent crop coming. Our grass seed was better than average. So that kind of solidifies my thoughts on the early spring, like the spring wheats, and there's some barley harvest happening in the neighborhood, and the yields are decent, nothing huge, but a good solid crop. And I think the way fall's progressing, barring any unforeseen circumstances, we should have a pretty decent crop in this area.
You mentioned the Timothy at the outset. How long have you been growing Timothy, and what do you do with it?
We've been growing Timothy and perennial ryegrass for probably going on. Well, I graduated university in 97, so I was our first year of grass seed production. So since 1997, 98, yeah, it's kind of been Timothy comes and goes in our rotation depending on fields. It likes wetter fields, so we planted on some more poor drained land. But we've had grass seed in our rotation every year since the late 90s.
And how long, how many years is it into grass?
So Timothy production, typically we'll get 4 or 5 years of production out of it. And so it's nice, that just ties up that field for a while. And the field we're in now, it's a half section. It has some drainage issues, so we don't worry about them for 5 years. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah. I'm actually really interested in this. Agronomically, it's an assist to help clean up some of the problems, or what are some of the agronomic benefits? I think a lot of times we jump to some of the marketing benefits and that side of it, but agronomically, why does it fit in your rotation in certain years?
I would say the biggest advantage is it stretches out some of those other crops in the rotation. So if we're worried about disease management in canola or fusarium head blight in wheat, it kind of stretches that rotation out a little further. Something like Timothy doesn't pay lots of bills, but it pays its bills. It's just kind of it doesn't make you lots of money, but it kind of just pays its way. It gives some of that land a break, so if you're looking at some weed dormancy, things like that, it's just, it seems to work on some of the more marginal fields that we have. So it's not a huge player, but it kind of just stretches out that rotation. And I'm a big believer in rotation. We have 7 crops in our rotation typically. So anytime we can stretch that out a little further, stretch harvest, harvest from end of July till the beginning of November. Those are the things I look for in adding crops, something like grass seed.
When I think about some of that grass seed, though, my hay fever kicks in just thinking about it, though.
Yeah, but dust from some of these grasses are something else. If we're roguing some ryegrass during pollination, it's just like a cloud of pollen out there. It's quite interesting. But we've this area of Manitoba is quite known for forage seed production, and it suits our climate and typically, and it's been a staple for us, and I would say it generally pays us well. So
For this season, how's the equipment been running? Any challenges, or things worked out really, really well, or what's been the experience?
things have gone well. Yeah, we've had a good season. We've had almost too much rain at seeding time. It was touch and go. But the equipment's been running fine. We have almost 800 acres of combining under our belts, and no major issues in the harvest equipment. So yeah, hopefully things just keep on rolling.
Yeah. This week we've been talking about this possibility of a rail strike. You're farming in Manitoba, obviously. How would that impact your farm? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, it's going to just impact the flow of crops, and someone who's fairly heavily marketed at this time of the year brings concerns of what's gonna roll into the elevator, or how plugged their system's gonna be, and that filters down to cash flow.
Yeah.
I would say a lot of producers have their cash flow kind of managed and sell crops timingly, and with delivery throughout harvest or throughout the fall or into winter, and just even small delays just set a chain reaction that take months to recover from, it seems. So that's definitely in the back of my mind. Definitely in the back of my mind. I haven't paid as close of attention to as I maybe once did when I was more in farm policy, but we're hearing it on the news, we're seeing it on Twitter or X more and more, on every new headline coming in from ag groups are calling for an end to this potential strike, and it's it's making you start to think, as harvest rolls on, as what kind of delays and other challenges it's going to bring, and if cash flow is tight on your farm, like, that's a real concern. Not to mention loss of markets, reliability, all these things that Canadian farmers and the ag industry are known for, delivering on time, delivering quality products, and that all just hampers our reputation.
I think you summed it up pretty good. I was talking on yesterday's show about the cash flow issue. There are a number of growers that do use some, everybody chooses maybe a crop or a certain amount of volume that they market off the combine to create that fall cash flow. And if you can't, if trains aren't moving, the elevators get plugged, you don't have that opportunity. It becomes a real challenge for some growers, and it's just not easy to say, well, we got lots of storage, let's store it. Some farmers have a lot of storage. Some have like 80% of their production typically, because they tend to move some of it right off the combine. Every individual farm is going to be impacted differently, but I think there's going to be some themes develop here if this strike goes into fruition and lasts over a period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's things like cash advance, that can maybe buffer some of that, but the size of some of our farms today, that cash advance is, don't get me wrong, it's useful and it's helpful, but it's not going to tie you over for months on end coming into, fall is an expensive time of year with harvest costs and, fuel costs. And then not to mention, if you're talking about fertilizer application in the fall, like, it gets to be really expensive. The cash flow is really important, to manage on farms today.
You nailed it. Hey, final question I'll ask you. If you think about the growing season so far, what's the best agronomic decision you made in hindsight?
Oh boy. Just pushing through and getting it done. Our mucked in beans, even at the end, are looking pretty good right now. So I think the perseverance to just get it done has paid off. And I think looks like we'll be rewarded for that.
Nice. Great to hear. Well, I look forward to chatting with you in a month or so, or a few months, Robert, and finding out how these yields worked out, because it sounds like you got some definitely some potential out in the field. So thanks so much for joining us here for the Farmer Rapid Fire.
Always a pleasure, Shaun. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, great stuff. Hey, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more of the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, right after this.
Since 2010, the Wheat School on RealAgriculture.com has been helping farmers to grow great wheat. Covering everything from markets, the latest research, pest and disease control, all the way down to on-farm trials, the Wheat School has everything your crop needs. Check out our massive video library on YouTube and grow great wheat with the Wheat School, brought to you by Syngenta Canada, C&M Seeds, and Alberta Grains.
If you're involved in the agriculture industry, it's important to stay informed on all the latest issues affecting your business. At RealAgriculture.com, we offer fast, reliable news, information, and insights to help you keep on top of all of the latest in Canadian agriculture. Visit RealAgriculture.com and sign up for our free daily newsletter covering everything from news, agronomy, animal agriculture, and much more. Visit RealAgriculture.com/subscribe today.
And we continue the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. We're stopping in Radisson, Saskatchewan. We're talking to Corey Loessin. Corey, how's it going?
Oh, so well, Shaun. Yourself?
Pretty good. So what's going so well on the farm? Why you seem like you got a good spirit here today?
Well, I hope I do most days, but I mean we're getting really quite close to harvest. Well, closer than I thought we would be a while ago, actually. I mean, this heat has really sped things up. So yeah, I'm expecting by the end of this week, we're looking at some mustard that we seeded really early that's maybe going to be ready. Some pulse crops probably to desiccate the following week, and then wheat right in after that, I think. So yeah, I mean, it's a busy time, but looking forward to getting into the fields and just seeing how they turn out.
What's your expectation? Because we've had a lot of heat, as you mentioned. You know, when I talk to a lot of growers in Saskatchewan, a lot of them they're feeling a lot more bearish about the yields than they were, say, a month and a half ago. What's your expectation at this point?
Well, I mean, I've already sort of tempered my thoughts a bit in terms of crop stand and growth and relative to yield. But that said, I mean, our area was particularly fortunate with moisture. We even had some pretty good rains into July. So I'm thinking it's going to be still pretty good. But yeah, there's no question that the heat took some of the top yield potential off in every crop, I think. I mean, a lot of our canola was flowering through that period, and you can find blanks on the stem where the pods didn't pollinate properly. But overall, I think it's still going to be fairly decent. I hope I'm not really disappointed, but yes, you know, another thing I thought of, like, this is about kind of coming out of our third drought in our career.
Yeah.
And my wife said the other day, you know, how many years have we come out of drought and had a bumper crop, basically? And that's probably never. You know, we would have such a moisture deficit that we've made it partway back this year, which is really good. But we've got to sort of have realistic expectations as well.
Yeah, and you in a lot of cases, especially with canola, it's so hard to estimate yield, right? And so you really don't know until you get that combine in that field.
Yes, that's right, for sure. I'm very poor at estimating canola yield. We do have canola on our 1 irrigated quarter this year, which looks quite good, but yet, you know, you can still find heat issues on that field, even though it was certainly not short of water. The heat still kind of caused some of the top end yield to disappear. But yeah, so we'll see. Pretty optimistic still, Shaun.
We were talking to Chip Flory, host of AgriTalk, about the markets on Wednesday's show. And one of the things that he mentioned about the spring wheat crop is, and he referenced North Dakota, pretty decent yields, but some of the spring wheat crop in the U.S. a little bit disappointing from a yield standpoint, but protein a little bit lower. What do you think some of our protein levels? Are you worried about protein at all in the spring wheat for this year?
I'm expecting it to be low.
You are, eh?
Why? Because we had a big flush of moisture go through the soil profile, and we started when we started seeding even. Or certainly early April before it started raining. I mean, it was dry deep down. So the moisture moved down into the soil profile, likely took some of the nitrate with it, almost for sure, deeper into the soil. And then the other factor would be kind of shallow-rooted plants, shallow-rooted crop that then didn't likely access that deeper nitrogen in time to make protein. So, yeah, I'd be surprised if it's not on the low side, actually, just because of the conditions.
Yeah. Any agronomic decisions you wish you could change as you look in hindsight, or gone okay?
Yep. Yeah, a couple of them. I mean, we did not. We sprayed. We could go to top dressing, talk about that. There may have been potential to help the protein if you would have top dressed in time. So that would be one. The other is around fungicide. Now, we did apply fungicide to all the wheat, all the pulse crops, and some of the canola. And it ought to have been all of the canola from the way it looks. Some sclerotinia in one field in particular. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know the actual impact there, but that'd be one, I could go back, I would apply fungicide to all of it.
Okay, at the time, at the time, why half of it? What was kind of what variables were in front of you that made that call at that time?
Yeah, probably flimsy reasoning, which is largely historical in that we've rarely seen a strong enough response to fungicide in canola to warrant putting it on, and that's not necessarily a good record to base the decision off of, but that's kind of how it's been. And so, we did it on the irrigated field because chances of disease pressure is fairly high. And we did it on a couple other fields, sort of thinking that, well, we'll do some just to see. But yeah, so largely historically, it hasn't been that needed, but it looks like just the conditions again this year probably was.
You're not alone in that decision, though. I think there's been almost a handful of people that have talked to us here on the Farmer Rapid Fire that have come. You're being hard on yourself by saying flimsy, but I don't think you're alone in terms of going about sort of playing the odds and going with half. Because I'm trying to think. Somebody was on here where they're like, you got to follow up with me at the end of the season and see if I made the right decision or not. And they did the exact same thing that you did. So you're not alone there. Don't be hard on yourself, Corey.
Yeah, well, I mean, we left a check strip, really little check strip on the irrigated quarter, and you can see it plain as day. Oh. And we left the check strip on the other field. You can see it. Again, we won't really know the impact till we get in there and combine and do the economics. And of course, talk about the markets. The way canola is going, it looks as though the threshold is getting higher all the time. So maybe that'll change after harvest. We'll see. But
I got to get your thoughts about the possibility of a rail strike.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
Isn't that no kidding? Wow. Give me your thoughts.
The timing. The timing and both railways at the same time. Wow. I guess I figured you might ask this question. So I think if I was working for the railway in a union, and being a consumer in the country, Canada, look at how much things have cost nowadays compared to what they did just a few years ago. I mean, the price of everything has gone crazy. So as a union working person, I'd be thinking, I got to get more money for what I do. And so opportune time to strike, I suppose. Conversely, though, it's not a free market system that we have with the railways at all. So it's going to potentially, I think already is in a way, put a economic hardship on the country. Even if the rail strike either doesn't happen or is very short, we're still going to see sort of an extended impact, which we might be already seeing in reduced sales or commitments, or delay stuff that's bound to happen. So it's a huge problem. I don't. Yeah, I mean, I can kind of sympathize with the individual workers out there, but it's our system as that's the problem, and unfortunately, farmers and the ag industry, along with other commodity industries, are gonna bear the brunt of the potential disruption.
Yeah, we heard from Karen Proud, CEO and president of Fertilizer Canada, and hydrous ammonia has already stopped moving.
Yeah. And so, this is the time of year when it needs to get in place for fall application, as do other fertilizers and products. And if the grain has to move off the combine, so to speak, well, how does that happen if a strike is going to happen kind of next week? So, yeah.
And do you, you've done time... When I say, dude, I mean you're in prison. You have done time on some of our national boards and in the commodity groups. When some people in the industry say that this impacts our reputation with trading partners as a reliable supplier, I have some members of the audience that agree with that. Okay, and there's others that say that's being hyperbolic. Where do you've seen inside you've seen the puppet show, and you've seen the inside here behind the curtain. What are your thoughts on when people make that statement?
100% that it impacts our reputation as a reliable supplier. We're not the only supplier of most everything. So anytime we have a threat of not being able to deliver on time or not execute on sales that have been made in a timely fashion, it for sure impacts our reputation. And I wonder how many times you can have that before the other buyers would just say, heck with you guys, we're going somewhere else that can provide it in a timely fashion. So yes, that's a huge concern. It's not something that you get back either just like that. It takes sort of time to, no different than if we were wanting something. Look back to COVID when there was supply chain issues and people are mad they can't get a tire or they can't get this or that. Well, it's frustrating, and it impacts what you're doing, and then obviously you don't necessarily forget that for a while.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. Hey, Corey, thanks so much for joining me here today. I really, really appreciate it. Good luck with harvest, and hopefully those yields come in at expectation.
Thanks, Shaun. Yes, very excited to get at it. Talk to you later.
If you want to provide some of your perspective on what you're seeing out in your fields as harvest is underway or about to start, depending on where you are in the country, we'd love to hear from you. Or maybe you've got some thoughts on what you heard today from some of the farmers that participated in the program. You can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You can find Real Agriculture across all the different social media platforms, or you're also more than welcome to call the Real Ag Feedback line. That number is 855-776-6147. Thanks, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with Real Ag Radio. Big shout-out to Pioneer Seeds Canada for being the exclusive sponsor of the Farmer Rapid Fire. And thank you so much for getting real and getting connected with Real Ag Radio.